Good evening, folks. It's John here. How are you? Pretty quiet week with Pitt this week. I mean, it's been finals week at school, so basketball teams have been off. Um, Football team was off. They're just getting ready. They're just starting practices back up for the bowl game next Saturday, which I'll hopefully be at. Um, but the sports gods, being merciful, have decided to give at least the world of Pitt sports something to talk about this week. It was announced beginning of the week, end of last week, that the Big Ten looks to want to expand maybe by one, maybe by three, probably one if they expand. And they are starting the process of looking for that one team. A lot of people have mentioned Pitt as a possible team. So let me give you my thoughts on that. Let me start off by saying, if Pitt is offered it, they have to take it. The amount of money you get in the Big Ten as compared to the money you get in the Big East, there's a pretty substantial difference. So I think you have to take it if you're offered it. Of course, they won't offer it if we won't take it. So moving right along, academic side, of course, Pitt would be fine in the Big Ten. In the Big Ten, academics count too, and Pitt would definitely live up to the academic standards expected of Big Ten member schools. Now, what about the actual sports themselves? Let me also say this. I like the Big East. I think the Big East is good. I think it's very underrated, and that going to the Big Ten would instantly raise how people view Pitt in the sports world. But I like the Big East. I mean, I think the Big East is good. I think it's very underrated. I think the level of competition in football, and let's face it, this would be a football-based decision, the Big East definitely doesn't get the respect it deserves, and they'll probably prove that this bowl season. Basketball, of course. The Big Ten is occasionally better than the Big East. Not usually, though. Not this year. Unfortunately, it's not going to be Pitt that's one of the reasons why the Big East is better than the Big Ten, unfortunately. So, how do I think it would work? I mean, for basketball, it would definitely not be good. I mean, Pitt basketball is very much tied to the East Coast. And all of a sudden moving to the Midwest Conference, the basketball program would more or less lose a good chunk of its recruiting base. Besides, who wants to go to Indianapolis for a basketball tournament? Seriously. Indianapolis, are you kidding me? No. So, basketball-wise, it would probably not be that good. Pitt basketball is very much an East Coast brand of basketball, not a Midwest brand of basketball. As for football, I mean, Big Ten football, pretty overrated as a general rule. I mean, they like to brag about how great they are. A lot of their greatness comes from the fact that they draw 100,000 fans to some of their stadiums. That doesn't necessarily translate to results on the field. Pitt would definitely be very different than most of the schools in the Big Ten when it comes to football culture-wise. It's just, Pitt's not a big state school. It's a big city school, more or less. It's not this big state school that everybody in the state is a fan. I mean, most neutrals in Western Pennsylvania are fans of Pitt, but certainly not statewide. And again, for me, it comes back to money. I think if Pitt were to go to the Big Ten, Pitt fans would really need to step it up. Pitt's athletic fundraising is not that good. For BCS programs, I think it's one of the bottom 3. It would far and away be the smallest in the Big Ten. If Pitt were to move to the Big Ten, and for it to work, Pitt fans would suddenly have to become a lot less. They'd suddenly have to. Let me put it this way: they have to suddenly become a lot more willing to donate to the school. I mean, college athletics can be an arms race sometimes, and it's even in these down economic times. It can be an arms race, and Pitt with its athletic fundraising base would be at a severe disadvantage in the Big Ten. They already are in the Big East, but it would be that much more pronounced in the Big Ten. So if it were to happen, and I mean, it would excite a lot of the local fans. No more visits from UConn, no more visits from Louisville, no more visits from Rutgers. And they'd be replaced with Michigan's, Ohio State's, and then, of course, occasionally Minnesota, Northwestern, Purdue. And to be fair, when Iowa did come 2 years ago, Pitt didn't sell that game out either. So it's not like be all that exciting to get schools not named Michigan, Ohio State, and some other school I can't think of right off the top of my head. So I mean, they'd be excited about some schools. They wouldn't really care about other schools. I mean, you also have to realize a lot of Pitt has a huge alumni base in the eastern part of the state, Penn State of Pennsylvania. I mean, Pitt's largest alumni bases outside of Pittsburgh are Philly, D.C. Makes sense. Philly, D.C., New York. For a lot of those fans, they can get to games a lot easier. If the games are in the Midwest, where Pitt has a lot less alumni, it'll be a lot harder. So, I don't know. I mean, I think we're not doing bad where we are right now. We're definitely improving. But if it's offered,